What happened to Amy Bradley when she boarded a cruise ship and went missing? It's now the focus of a very popular documentary on Netflix that I encourage you to watch. But I am going to present a different theory that I have not seen proposed by investigators, by the documentary, or even by sleuths online. So understand I'm speculating, and that I'm an evidential medium that has worked with law enforcement agencies, private investigators, as well as families of high-profile crimes. I help individuals ask questions, to think outside of the box. So it's not my job to solve the case. I help people think differently. And that can bring about the retrieval of information that takes a cold case into being active again and hopefully leading towards a suspect. I also work on missing person cases, and I have located people that have been missing. The night before that Amy disappeared, I see that she had been drinking, having a great time dancing. I see that she had connected to the bass player. They were having a happy banter. And I will tell you for the record and what I speculate, I don't see that the bass guitar or any of the employees had anything to do with Amy's disappearance. But what I do see is that Amy ended up having a very flirtatious time with another woman that was dancing on the floor with her, and that they sort of just clicked when they met. It was fun. It was a cruise. Everybody's on vacation. And maybe they didn't think much of it other than dancing. But there was a vibe. But nothing that transitioned into anything more. So since Amy had been drinking and didn't feel super great, she fell asleep on the balcony of her cruise ship cabin. And I believe that at a certain point between 5:30 and 6 a.m. that Amy decided to get up, change, and go to the top deck where she could smoke and watch the cruise ship get ready to pull into port. Because I very specifically see her hanging on the railing, smoking, and looking out over the water. And that's when this other woman approaches her, the woman that she had been dancing with the night before. I see a woman that is slightly older than her, blonde hair, very charismatic. And she says to her, "Why don't you come back to my room?" And so Amy decides to go back to this woman's room where she says that they're just going to grab another drink. I don't see that Amy was a heavy drinker, but she just saw the opportunity to see where things might go. Inside the cabin of this other woman that approached her, I actually see that things got to be a little bit more sensual, that they started to make out, that there was this chemistry, and I do believe that they ended up just laying down on the bed and kissing. It was very light. It wasn't anything much more than that. And while they're having this sensual encounter, the door opens, and in comes this woman's husband. And a switch flipped in his head. I see her husband having a military background, possibly even being a first responder, like a police officer. And that when he saw his wife making out with another woman on their bed, he became enraged and physical. Because in the 90s, heteronormative masking was very prominent. And that basically means where one partner does have interest in the same sex, but suppresses it for society standards. It's why I'm a huge advocate of allowing people to be compassionate about who one chooses to love. But in the case of Amy being caught in the dynamic of this couple, I feel that she was the focal point. She was a very strong individual, and I really feel that Amy wasn't scared to hold her own ground. But this man, with his background and his rage, ended up getting physical with her. I very specifically see a lot of physical punching, and I see that he unalived her in a fit of rage. I believe that he then took her and cast the evidence overboard. And I see that the woman who Amy had been making out with was traumatized and is still suffering a type of PTSD from what she experienced. Because that man threatened to unalive her as well. And again, this is just speculation. I don't have any concrete evidence that this ever occurred, but as an evidential medium, I would ask investigators to look at the list of individuals that had cabins and what couple was on board where the man had military background and potentially was still working in security or working as a first responder, as a police officer, because the person that did this to Amy was someone that understood evidence gathering and how to then hide evidence. Because I don't see Amy as depressed, and I don't see that there's any way in hell Amy would have ever abandoned her family. I don't believe that she was put into human trafficking, very simply because she had a bold personality that would be difficult to control. And even though a forensic analysis said that they believed that a SW worker that was found that resembled Amy's physical features energetically, I don't think it's the same person. I don't believe that there's any substance that would keep Amy from her family. So this is what I just will share with you. I have a healthy respect for the law and for the judicial process, and everything must be based on evidence in order to be proven in a court of law. But I ask questions that are outside of the box, and I think that there's a story here as well, which is about allowing people to have the freedom to be able to love whoever it is without guilt or shame. Because any community that is marginalized because of these synthetic expectations created by society, which is really by people in positions of power, is not about living in a free and equal world. So let me know what you think. Share with me in the comments. And if you want to learn more about what I think, go to my Substack, where I will drop in more specific details that I think should be discussed in regards to Amy Bradley's case.